There we go. David, how's that? Hopefully that's a little bit better. Thank you for can't hear it. Hey guys, can you hear now? I'm picking up audio over here, so give me a thumbs up or yes, now you can. Perfect. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot to turn the mute off on my mic, so these are the things that happen when you don't jump on a live stream for over a week. You tend to get a little rusty real quick. So I'm going to minimize this screen and move this over. Great. So Mick B, hey, good seeing you. Hannah, good seeing you. Leighton says yes, there is some sound now, still very quiet. Okay, is it coming across quiet for you guys? Let me know if Leighton, it should be at a pretty decent volume. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not sure. Testing. How's the wind? No. All right. Hear you just fine. Great. Fine now sounds good. Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone. Good to see you guys again. We took last week off, and then actually we took the week before that off for the live stream too. It's just been a hectic, really just last month. So getting to be back on here, I feel a little rusty going into this, but at the same time, I'm so excited to be back and just chatting with you guys and having good conversations. So with this live stream, we're probably going to jump into this morning's topic, which is about finding our target audience, which I do believe that this kind of expands much further than just trying to sell our artwork. It also talks about where we should be showing our artwork, whether it be in magazines or galleries or anything like that. So we could talk about that today. But then also the last topic that we did about evoking an emotional response in someone that gets them to the point where they're willing to pull the trigger on purchasing our artwork. So hopefully today we could really kind of dive into talking about selling our artwork and really making money with our artwork, whether that be through selling fine art prints or selling zines or even just selling photographic services, whatever that might look like. So yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this today. I have quite a bit to share on the topic, but at the same time, I really kind of want to put this out there to you guys and see what questions you were left with after seeing the last couple of videos. And then this will also help us to kind of gear forward of where this little mini series might go moving forward. So thank you guys for everyone letting me know that that it's sounding good. I appreciate all that, and I've adjusted my amp. It's fine. Awesome. McB says, nice to see you back on YouTube. A week without a Nick video is too long. Nice. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys letting me get that extra little bit of rest in there. We were installing Emily's show the week before, and then last week was her opening. On Tuesday was the opening of her thesis show, and then she graduated this weekend. So we've had a busy last couple of weeks, but at the same time, it's been a very exciting last couple of weeks. And I'm so excited and so proud of Emily for going through and yeah, getting her master's degree and putting her work up, and it's amazing. So I'm probably gonna kind of cover that in a recap video that I have planned coming up soon, and kind of talk about what this last month has looked like, because there's been some exciting things, including the meetup that I did last weekend, which was in Chicago. So actually not this previous weekend, but the weekend before, the meetup that we did out in Chicago. And then I'll probably recap the meetup that I'm doing this weekend out in New York City, and share some photos from it, but then also just kind of share some stories. So let's see here. John says, well, you do not look rusty. In fact, you look downright fabulous today. Thank you, buddy. John Kramer says, hello, Nick. I hope you're having a great day. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Fantastic. And Pete Donovan, good seeing you out there as well. John Wilkinson says, great topic for all of us. Yes. How do you get your photography in a gallery? We could talk about that today as well. Emily and I actually have a video series, and then we've actually been talking about something else that I'll probably throw out here in the live stream later on. So stick around, because there's kind of a halfway announcement. We're still trying to work out some of the details, but we will be moving forward on something exciting for the two of us to be able to start partnering and sharing some of our collective knowledge versus just me kind of rambling in front of a camera. So it's going to be kind of a progression moving forward of serving the community, but then serving much more of the fine art community as a whole versus just the photography community. So at the same time, Spencer, if I forget to kind of touch on this, remind me, because I'd love to talk about that a little bit more. Michael Boorman says, hello all. Hello, Michael. Good seeing you out there. This week's 2-Minute Tuesday is such a great one to tackle. It really is. It's something that, like I said, whether you're looking to sell your artwork or not, it's something that we should be considering from the get-go. It's something that we tend to kind of miss the consideration on, and we just kind of throw our work out there, and it's almost like you know, as they say, throwing spaghetti against the wall, and you just wait for something to stick. And I mean, that could happen, and that could work for you know, a length of time, or even just in small pockets of success. I think once we start to hone down and we start to like qualify and classify these different ideas of who our quality market is, who our target market is, who our target audience is, it really helps us to be able to jump the gap much quicker, to be able to sell more of our artwork or get more traction on our artwork. So I think all of us can benefit from this conversation today. I am very surprised, though, and it's probably more of, one, my lack of involvement on YouTube over the last week and a half, and maybe two, my poor I don't know, pushing of the video out into the streams. But last week's, or the 2 weeks ago, the video did much better views wise on the day of, and I'm really hoping that, you know, maybe if you guys could share that video out, because I do think that the first video that we did in this little mini series, the one about author, or the experiential, I'm kind of a little rusty up in my brain today too, but the emotional response that we evoke in people. And then this side, I think these are actually two sides of the same coin. And both, you know, in that video, the emotional response video, I said that that was probably the #1 thing to understand when trying to sell our artwork. Well, I would also say that this is probably the #1 thing to understand when selling our artwork too, because I honestly think it's the same thing, just coming at it from two different angles. Because you can't get to a place to where we evoke the emotional response in someone until we've actually understood who it is that would have that emotional response. So anyways, we could dive into that a little bit more as we go. So Pete says, congrats, Emily. John says, that's quite an accomplishment. Kudos to her. Yes. I'm so proud of her. Emily, are you down there? Baby? Everyone's saying congrats. She says thank you. No, you don't have to come up here. Kevin Tiongston says, hey, jumping in late. Never got to go to one of these. Nice. You're not too late at all. It's 10 minutes in, and most of the first 10 minutes is oftentimes just kind of pre-show banter. So Spencer says, got my first roll of P3200 or T-Max 3200. What should I do with it? You should shoot it. I would just say, just get out there and shoot through it. I mean, now that it's not discontinued anymore, you have no worry of not being able to get any more. So just go out and experiment with it and just have fun. That's the biggest thing. I'm not going to tell you how to shoot it. I would just say go out there, have fun. You might want to overexpose it just a tad, so maybe shoot it at 1600. You could shoot it at 3200. Either way, just get out there and put it to good use. Mateo, hey buddy, good seeing you out there. I'll definitely be sharing them both. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate that. Sean Miller says, haven't had a chance to catch the last two. Been away from YouTube for a bit. No worries. We'll probably cover most of what's in those today on the live stream. So Pete says, Spencer Reed, shoot it. Same thing I said. I'll definitely watch though. Awesome. Well, let me kind of turn it and put it on you guys right now to kind of get the ball rolling. What do you guys think? Hey. Hi, baby. Thanks for jumping in here and saying thank you to everyone. Now you guys could say congrats to her as she's, excuse me, in the chat here. But let me turn this on you guys and just kind of go. So after hearing the last two conversations about selling our artwork, where does that leave you sitting? Do you feel more confident about going out and selling your artwork? Do you feel more confident about going out and showing your artwork? Do you still have some big looming questions kind of hanging over top of you? And I'd like to just be able to dive in and start really kind of running gun-ho down into these. So I don't want to have any more time go by. I just want to kind of get into today's topic. And I probably won't do the full, I don't know. Depends on where the conversation goes today. And how much energy I get from talking to you guys. We might just go for the next hour, or we might do the full hour and a half like we normally do. John Wilkinson says, my problem with selling work is I tend to shoot a variety of subjects ranging from portraits to street to product to landscape to travel. How do you find a good market for that kind of variety? That's a good question, John, because I think a lot of people, especially within our chat here, are probably going through that exact same thing. And honestly, I would say that you're probably not going to find a market for all of it. Which is fine. You know, there is a truth to where, you know, the Instagram community that we have, the Instagram community that you have, the people that follow you on a regular basis, they may be, depending on how you present your work, depending on the stories that you share with the, you know, the portraits, with the street, with the, you know, they might be a little bit more apt to purchasing just to purchase from you. Sometimes the emotional response is really just the viewer with the artist. You know, there's some people that don't understand my artwork, but they want to purchase it because they love me and they appreciate what I'm doing, and they know at least my heart behind it, and they want to have a piece because they know me, right? And there's that link for the emotional response is really getting to know me more by purchasing my piece. But then in your question of going, you know, if I'm shooting this variety of subject matter, how do I get it in front of eyes that will want to buy something within that? And I think it's really understanding that, especially with that, you know, your portraits are probably going to be geared towards a very specific market. Whether you're doing senior portraits, then, you know, you're looking at the seniors in your area, or if they're bridal portraits, then you're obviously looking at bridal couples. But understanding that in order to try and sell them all, you're going to probably fall short. In order to one set of eyes, you know, going, where can I find the one audience that's going to want to buy all of the above? That's probably not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. But at the same time, if you start going, okay, who can I, and you start building an avatar like we talked about in the video this morning, the customer profile, you start building it down from each of those. Maybe take your top 3 that you absolutely love, that you're proud of your work. You know, if it's street photography and portraiture and landscapes, then you're going, okay, who would be my customer avatar for the landscapes? Who would be my customer avatar for the street photography? And then who would be my customer avatar for the portraits? And understanding that it trickles down on 3 different levels. And you're probably not going to find, you might find that one person that wants you to take their portraits and then also wants to buy a zine of travel photography and landscape photography and street photography. You might find that one person, but the odds are it's probably only 1 or 2, and it's far fewer than if you were to try and hone down into each of the individual niches. Emily and I were kind of talking about how to say that word earlier, but hopefully that makes sense. You know, I'd love to dive into that further if you have more questions on that, but really it's about going, who is it for each of these different ones? And maybe you just choose one and you're trying to sell that one for a while, and then as you build up, you know, your branding around that one, then you could start to introduce another, or vice versa. But I think that's a big one, a big question that a lot of people have, is what I'm saying. Mateo says, jumping in a little bit late today, but I'm glad I can make it in on time. Hope you're having an amazing day. I am having a good day. It's been a very busy day. I had a lot of meetings earlier today, but I'm enjoying it. Let's see here. I'm staying up just for this. Nice. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. How do you find the market to sell yourself? So Spencer, that's a great question. And again, it kind of goes back to the idea of, picture your artwork and picture places that you've seen your type of artwork that you're shooting displayed. Street photography does well within the zine community. Obviously, people are buying zines of street photography. I have a giant stack of zines, and a giant portion of those are street photography, and a giant portion of those are zines that I've purchased. So understanding that street photography is well received in that type of manner. It's also well received within magazines and different, especially if you're specifically honing in on like photojournalistic style street photography. Maybe your local newspaper is the market for your photography. Maybe you get a gig work in the local newspaper or whatever it might be. But if you're doing something that's a little bit more fine art, start to picture what your artwork would look like on a wall, and what would that wall look like? Where would that wall be? Is it in a doctor's office? Is it in a office building? Is it in a hotel lobby? Wherever it might be, you start to work, and at least that's where I go from, is I picture my artwork up on a wall, and then I go, okay, whose wall is that? And I start to build it from zooming out from the image and going, okay, who do I think would realistically be the market that I would be best selling it to, if that makes sense. Again, I made the reference earlier today, or earlier in the in the video this morning, that Garth Brooks isn't going to go and start trying to pump his music out in front of Kanye West audience. It just, he's very realistic, and Kanye West isn't going to assume that Kanye West might assume that everyone wants to hear his music, but anyways, that's another story. But it's just going, we need to have realistic understanding of who it is that appreciates our artwork. And another thing that we could do is you could start asking questions within your Instagram story. That's one of the things that we have that they didn't have 15 years ago, is we have social media to where we could start doing kind of field studies and questionnaires up on our social media accounts and go, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is it that draws you to my artwork? What is it that makes you come back to my feed over and over and over again and appreciate the artwork? If anybody has purchased a print from you in the past, ask them, hey, what was it that made you purchase this print in the first place? What was it that you seen in the print in the first place? And then start looking at that type of person. We say type of person, and we start to think that that's a bad terminology or something. We're going, oh, now we're profiling. Well, sales is really profiling. It's understanding the type of profile that will actually pull the trigger. So understanding where to start is really understanding what it is that you're trying to do with your artwork, what it is that you picture your artwork being. There's some different prints and stuff. Where's my, over here. Whoop, there we go. There's some different prints up here that I have. I have a Kit Young print here. I have a print that I found in a where is it? Up here, in a not a thrift store, but an antique store. I have a picture of Emily laughing, and there's these different images that I have up on my wall. I have a bunch more over here. I have some in the back behind me, and it's just understanding, like, why is it that I put those up on my wall? What is it that makes me want to purchase a Kit Young print? Gosh, I need to work on my there we go. A Kit Young print, what is it about Kit Young's prints that speaks to me? And I guarantee you, and I promise you, this is actually true. If you look at a bunch of my friends have actually purchased Kit Young's prints as well, because we're drawn towards a lot of the same stuff. So once you find one or two people that appreciate your artwork, you could start working your way kind of laterally from there and start spreading out from there and going, okay, who's in their friends group and what part of their friends group would probably appreciate the artwork as well. So, and one of the best ways of figuring that out is literally just printing off some 4x6s and putting them up for sale. Put them up for sale at the local coffee shop, or do a pop-up shop at your coffee shop, or put them up on your Instagram story, and just watch and see who actually pulls the trigger on them. And you could start noticing a pattern of the type of person that's going to purchase your artwork, and then start asking, hey, you bought my artwork, what did you do with it afterwards? If you displayed it, where did you display it? Is it on your mantle in your living room? Is it in your office? Is it in start to actually inquire questions after the fact, because the people that purchase our artwork are some of the best ways of actually kind of testing the field and seeing who it is that might purchase it again in the future. So that's some ideas that I throw out there, and we'll kind of roll forward with you guys' questions and see where that's going. Randy says, how can I sell artwork if I have limited funds of getting and making prints? You know, Randy, I'm not gonna try to not be insensitive here, but I think that selling prints is actually one of the easiest and cheapest ways of getting into selling artwork. I mean, you could get a 4x6 print, start off with 4x6 prints. You could get 20 of them made for like $4, and then you sell them for $15 a piece, and all of a sudden now you have the funds to be able to start paying for larger prints and start framing prints and all these different things. So don't allow the idea of limited funds to stand in the way. Start off small. It's fine. Do postcards, do 4x6s. You don't have to frame them, you don't have to mat them, sign the back of them, whatever it might look like, but just get the ball rolling, because the longer you start focusing on the funds of trying to print the artwork, the more it's just going to stand in your way, whereas it really doesn't need to be a hindrance. You know, a good, I don't, over here you can't really see it, but I have a Canon Pixma Pro 100, and I got it for $50 on Craigslist. It was brand new in the box. And what happens is Canon a couple times a year does this promo to where if you buy one of their DSLRs, you'll get their Canon Pixma Pro for free with it. But what happens is these people buy this DSLR from one of the camera shops, they get the free printer, but the printer is huge. It's not, you know, a standard printer that just any old person would want on their countertop. But for us, fine art photographers and photographers that are actually trying to sell our work, it's a great printer. I got it for $50. It came with sample Canon paper. So I had like 25 sheets of paper. I had all the ink. And for $50, I had 25 at least 8x10 prints that I could do. Or I could use that 8x10 or as 8.5x11 paper and cut it down into 4x6 sheets. And now all of a sudden you have, you know, you get 3 sheets per 8.5x11 page. You get 3 4x6 page or prints. So do the math, whatever, 75 prints at that point. Now 75 prints at $15 a piece. Now you're cooking with gas. So it's just one of these things to where, you know, Randy, again, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but literally you could go and whatever, beg for money, beg for $5, go and sell or print some 4x6s and then build your way back up and then pay back the $5 to whoever you borrowed it from. Let's see here. Pete Donovan says, I shoot a variety as well. Oops. Jump down. Oh, come on. I shoot a variety as well. It's tough, especially in my area. Yeah, and you know, that's one of the things that I absolutely love about social media these days is we're not confined to trying to sell within our area. I'll tell you this straight off. I mean, 99% of my sales are just across the world. Actually, about 60% of my sales are overseas. I have a lot from like Singapore and the UK and Australia for whatever reason. Those are like my top 3 that I sell the most to. But it's fantastic. I have a bunch in Germany, and you just, the thing is, when we allow these excuses, I'd say this like, again, not to be insensitive, but again, they are excuses. We live in such a easy culture to where we have nothing really holding us back. And what you could do. So here's what if you want to just get started, and if you don't have any money whatsoever to actually make a print, post the image up on your story. Post the image up and go, I'm gonna sell 4x6 prints of this. $15 a pop, plus you pay shipping, and then they pay for it, and then you have it printed right after that. So that way you don't need any money out of your pocket right off the get-go. You could say, hey, I'm doing a pre-order on prints, or you could do 5x7s, you could do 8x10s, whatever you want to do. You throw the price out there, you say, I'm doing a pre-order on these, and then as soon as they pay for it, that's when you use that money to pay for the actual print, and then you pocket the difference. And it just, there's so many different, you could even drop ship. You can go on to, there's like mpix.com or White House custom color, I think it's WCC or whatever these different print shops are online, and you could drop ship the printing right to the customer. So they give you $25, you go on, you pay the $3 to get a nice 5x7 printed, and then it gets drop shipped, which means it gets shipped directly to the customer. And it's so simple these days. There really isn't any excuses. And again, this is hopefully to motivate you guys and kind of release you guys to be able to sell it, not to ridicule you for thinking in this way, because I got paralyzed by these same thought processes for so long. So these are just things that I've learned along the way that really take a lot of the hesitation and a lot of the hassle right out to where you can jump right in tonight if you wanted to. Don't know where to start. Hopefully, Alejandro, hopefully I answered a bit of that. And Spencer, and Spencer Poland says, I've tried art fairs and that didn't work out too well for me. Now I'm looking at galleries. The people in my area are broke. This is why I designed grains of silver as a portfolio piece. Sure. And yeah, it's one of the things that we'll talk about in the future is in a future episode is really going through and starting to create a space within the industry to make yourself an industry leader, whatever that looks like. And it's not manipulation, it's not falsifying, it's just so many people are looking for certain things in order to understand that someone's an industry leader. There's no yeah, I'll say this in two different ways, because I know that the growth that I have is partly because I've served the community so well over the last year, but there's no doubt in my mind that it's the YouTube presence that I have now that caused me to go from last year in March launching a zine and having it go for 3 months before it actually sold out, to this year in February launching a zine and having the 100 copies sell out in 24 hours. Because having a YouTube channel, having these different, places of presence within the industry has given me this, whatever. I'm not trying to claim anything over myself, but I'm just saying, when you place yourself in a position to where, and I know, Spencer, you have a YouTube channel, and a lot of you guys are really doing this well to place yourself out in front of the audience in very good ways. I'm watching a lot of you guys get different interviews on different websites and stuff like that, and that's fantastic. And the more that you could place yourself in a position to where people will perceive you, at least, because I'm no industry leader, but for whatever reason, having a YouTube channel puts me in a position to where people assume, or I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to where social value today really plays a big part on this kind of stuff too. So really putting yourself out there in different ways of writing blog posts and creating a YouTube channel, or doing whatever you can to serve the community. Obviously don't do it to self-serve, but in doing it to serve the community, you start to have a voice to where people had found encouragement in the article that you posted, or the interview that you did with someone, or whatever it might look like, and they start to respond in that kind of way. They start to respond, once again, like I said, to the artist and not just the artwork, and that's okay as well. Especially if you want to help fund the future projects that you're trying to do. But if, Spencer, like you're saying, if in your area people are broke, then look outside your area. Start putting it in front of other people's eyes the best that you possibly can. Putting your work and doing open calls and open submissions for gallery showings and magazines. To go back to Spencer Reed's question, so how do you start showing in galleries? This is one thing that you could do absolutely tonight, is find 5 to 10 photos that you think are absolutely great within your portfolio, and then go on Google and type in photography open call, or open call photography. And what happens is it pulls up, there's a couple different websites, and then there's a bunch of other open calls that go out for these magazines and these galleries and competitions and all these different things of featuring artists. Start throwing out these open calls, and you could start submitting. Sometimes it's free, other times it's like $5, $10, $30, whatever it might be. The ones that you have to actually pay for typically have a greater return if you do get chosen, whether it be a competition or whether it be a feature in a magazine article or whatever it might be. But just go on and type in photography open call, or fine art photography open call, or black and white photography open call. Niche down to whatever it is that you shoot, and then just tag on open call at the end in your Google search and look and see what comes up, and start submitting your work over and over and over and over again. It might take 50 times that you submit it before you get that one feature, but that one feature could make all the difference. And sometimes it takes 50 features before it takes all the difference, but it's just putting yourself out there in as many possible ways as you possibly can, making yourself an industry leader by submitting to all these different places, to sharing your insights and the things that you've learned within your photography journey, whether it's 5 weeks into photography or whether it's 50 years into photography. Just sharing with people and just being vulnerable. It places you in a position to where people will look to you. You know, again, I say as an industry leader, as an influencer, as whatever you want to label it, and it will make a difference over the long run, because one, you'll shift and shape people's lives for the better, and two, you'll be able to emotionally connect with another artist community, which could be a potential customer community as well. Most of my work is sold to my Instagram community and into the YouTube community and everything like that. So John Wilkinson said, did you find the zines tend to sell more than other that zines tend to sell more to other photographers? What about street photography? Yeah, a majority of my zines sell to other photographers, and that's the thing is, you know, it's like when skaters would sell skate zines, and they still do. They sell them to other skaters. It's general public does not care about street photography. General public doesn't care about, you know, Gary Winogrand's and you know, whoever you want to label off. If I were to go up and show a Gary Winogrand to my dad, he'd be like, why is it a crooked frame? You know, it's not something that the general market it really seeks out. Now, if you have a picture of a butterfly or a flower, honestly, that would probably do better for a general market or for an artist market or for whatever it might be, than, you know, a really, really well composed street photograph. It's just the I just seen Pete's comment, Kanye who? Anyways, it's understanding that that's not a bad thing. We can sit and shake our fists at the you know, community of lay people or whatever we want to call them as us photographers, you know, and we can go, I can't believe you wouldn't want to buy my street photo, and look at this moment that I captured. Don't you know what a decisive moment is? They just don't care about that. They care about beauty and gentleness and love and kindness and all these different things that they could experience from an image, but they don't care about the actual happenings within a street photo, or the happenings within a zine. That's much more on the photography side. Other photographers find value in that. Other photographers look at something and go, man, I could really appreciate how well composed that is, or the technical excellence of what that is, or, you know, the pixel sharpness of what these are only things that other photographers really care about. The general public doesn't care at all. So yeah, my zines sell almost entirely to other photographers, except for a few people that appreciate me and that love what I'm doing and want to support me. The first time I sold a zine, I think my mother-in-law purchased 4 of them last year with the My Kind of Town zine. And I'm like, what are you gonna do with 4 of my zines? I think she's just trying to pocket them in case I make it big someday, and then she can make back all the money that they've given us over the years. But anyways, I think that's why they hold on to Emily's pieces too. Actually, no, they hold on to Emily's pieces because they're amazing. My zines are not anything to be held on to. Anyways, Jahan was in here. Hey, buddy, good seeing you. Oh, jumped away. Sorry. Let's see here. I really wish that they would get this kind of kink worked out to where it wouldn't jump all around when I'm trying to read off the comments. John says, I picture all my work in your house. That's funny. Let's see here. Federico says, hey Nick from Italy, how are you? Would love to see your video blog, meanwhile you take your pictures. So you're saying you like the point of view videos is what I think you're saying. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Michael says, once you've found your target audience, how do you market to them? Like, how do you present it for them? Great discussion. Michael, I think that's another great question, and that's something that I was hoping that this video would lead into, is going, once we understand the emotional response, or once we know that our target audience is going to respond emotionally before they make a purchase, then it's going, where do we need to present it? Because I can't give you this answer. I can't go, here's the one place that you present it on. You know, Facebook is going to be your you know, end all be all Salesforce. I can't tell you that. But you can start to look at it and start to go backwards and go, okay, here's my target audience. What's the emotional response that they get when they make that purchasing decision? And then how do I need to present it in a way that makes that emotional response? So you know, showing to other photographers. So selling zines to other photographers, I know that the way that I present my zine has to be well thought out and photographed well and presented well in a photographic nature, to where it can't just be a screenshot of my zine. It has to be a good photo, because other photographers, we do have, you know, it's like when a painter walks up to another painter and they see the excellence within the craft. There is a thing that we respond to with excellence within craft. This is why cameras sell much better when photographed much better. Like, people taking iPhone shots with their cameras, I mean, there are good iPhone shots of cameras, but when you're trying to, here's a quick little tip, when you're trying to sell your camera, whether it be a Hasselblad, whether it be a point and shoot, whatever it might be, make sure you're posting up good photos of that camera. Like, the photo of the camera should be a good photo technically. You know, blur out the background, treat it like a portrait, you know, have good exposure, have good composition. And these are the things that oh, happened. I don't know if my screen went black for you guys, but it just went black on my screen. So anyways, but yeah, when selling a camera, it makes that total sense. So when I sell zines, I make sure that my photos of the zines are really well done and stuff like that. Another thing to consider is, if somebody's going to be presenting and displaying it on their wall, let's say in like a like gallery frame, and even to the point of, so many of my photos that I have around are actually matted around. I prefer to present work on my walls when they're matted. So oftentimes what I do is I take the glass out of a picture frame, and then I mat the print, and then I put that in the picture frame, and then I photograph that. Even if I'm not selling it with the frame, I'll still photograph it in the frame to show what it will look like when it actually hangs on their wall. You could also, you know, either Photoshop it on an actual wall, or just hang your work on a wall and take a photo of it that way and start presenting it as if it were hanging in a living space. And sometimes we can inform people on as to what the emotional response should be that they have. Sometimes people don't necessarily know what good artwork is, so they just have to see it in a space in order to understand, hey, this is what it looks like in that place. So there's a lot of different things, but I can't give you all the answers to that, and I don't necessarily know that you're looking for all the answers to that, Michael, but asking those questions is very important. Just asking those questions, it gets you a step ahead of so many other photographers that are trying to sell their work that aren't asking those questions, because they're just assuming that if they just post up the image and just go, hey, you know, $25 today only, that it will just automatically sell. In some cases it will, if the eyes that are on it are already in the right place, but most of the time we need to actually go the extra step of presenting it well and giving that that extra bit of emotional response to it. McBee says, how do I find customers to buy my nature photos? It feels like it's a little difficult market to reach out to. You know, it's just, Pete says, I would suggest going to Autobahn Center or Community Greenhouse. Usually something local like that would be happy to display. Yeah, it's again, it's picturing who it is that would put it into their home or their business space or anything like that. Looking at your images and going, what does my image say? You know, the beautiful thing about landscape and nature photos is it carries with it a certain comfort and a certain calmness that a lot of places, local businesses or homes, want to have in their home. So it's just going, okay, it's asking the tough questions and not allowing yourself to get discouraged when you don't necessarily come up with the answers right off the get-go. So it's going, okay, so like Pete was saying, you know, maybe it's going over to your local nurseries, you know, the community greenhouse and the plant nurseries, and going, hey, you know, I'd love to photograph some of your stuff and you know, present you with some gallery wraps that are going to go up on your wall, and maybe you guys can stipend me for it, you could commission me for it, or I could just put it up there and you guys can sell them as an additional product in your space, and then we cut off a commission for you, and then I get my pay for it, and it's just getting more just creative. You know, we tend to think that our creativity stops when we push the shutter, but it needs to continue on to how we're going to present our work and who we're going to present our work to. That's where the creativity actually probably jumps into more of the creative problem solving, and is a big part of actually making a decent living, or at least a side income with selling our artwork. Jahan says, inspiring as always, brother. Thanks, buddy. Good seeing you out there. I'm glad you can make it today. Joe says, just got in. How about street photography? Zines seem to be the best way of doing it, right? Yeah, zines, but then also I've done well with showing at like local galleries, coffee shops, and stuff like that. And then selling fine art prints to other photographers. So like I said, for street photography, oftentimes the market is other street photographers or collectors or galleries. The nice thing is, excuse me, with street photography, a lot of galleries are starting to recognize the importance of photojournalism and conceptual street photography and conceptual you know, surrealism within, you know, a photojournalistic style. And there's a lot of different places that you could start displaying that other photographers or other creatives start to come into. So that's what I would say for that. Cody Bilmar says, hey everyone. Hey Cody, good seeing you. Nick B says, Pete Donovan says, I try to stay, or to Pete Donovan, I try to stay local, but do not really know how to advertise me. I know my pictures are more than okay, but reaching out to a customer is the hard part for me. Mick B, I'd be curious to hear, like, what do you mean by reaching out to the customers? So is it the actual taking the step in going forward? One of the things that you guys could do, and that I did when I originally approached the coffee shop to do my solo exhibition at, was printing out some work and going in and presenting it in that way, and actually kind of having a portfolio of prints, and kind of even going into a space. So let's say you go into talking about the you know, environment stuff and the landscapes and in different nature photos, is picturing what that space looks like and then giving your own creative vision to it. So going, hey, if I were to creatively design this space and I were to put some of my images up in it, what images would it be? And then print some of those out, and then maybe even bring in, if it's going to be a 20 by 30 gallery wrap, bring in a 20 by 30 gallery wrap and show them, you know. And yes, it takes a little bit out of your pocket right off the get-go, but at the same time, that's something that you could still sell in the future or present in the future. You know, having something that you could walk in tangibly with and go, look, this is what I'm talking about. I'm serious about showing in your space. I'm serious about selling to you. It makes all the difference. Emily and I sold more albums, and we sold more gallery wraps and fine art prints when we actually had them to show to our wedding couples. When you don't have a product to show, it's much more difficult for a customer to envision what that looks like in their mind. So actually having a sample product allows you to really put it in there and you know, present it in a space to where they could actually understand what it's going to look like in their space, what it's going to look like for what they would purchase or anything like that. A company that if you're in the States, I highly suggest you look at if you're going to do any kind of gallery wraps or stuff like that is CG Pro Prints. You could set up an account with them, and they have amazing, as far as gallery wraps. I used to hate gallery wraps, but especially with my wedding clients, it became my absolute favorite thing to sell apart from a wedding album. It was, their gallery wraps are amazing, and the build quality out of them are just incredible. So anyways, that's a just little resource for you guys to check out. Jan Smith, hey buddy, good seeing you. Pete Donovan says, a friend of mine sells 4x6 postcards in made in blank your state locations and makes a killing. Nice. It's again, it's really getting creative with it. Jahan says, based in Austria, 80% of my sales go to Asia and the US. Hardly anyone in Europe digs my work. Yeah, that's not a bad thing, you know. It's only a bad thing when you aren't selling something. We get so caught up on it when we don't sell anything, and we go, oh man, it's because we start blaming it. And I'm gonna be very stern with this, because this is the thing that's holding 95% of the people back, is because we're putting blame on the customer. And as soon as we start blaming the customer for not getting sales is the moment that they become unsellable, because now we're approaching them kind of with this grievance of going, I can't believe you didn't sell or buy my stuff, or how come you don't have the money to purchase my stuff. It's going, once you get over that hurdle and you understand that the people that you've been trying to sell to are not the only people that are on the face of the planet, then it makes it much easier to get out there and actually sell stuff. It makes it much easier to start thinking in a different way and go, okay, so obviously the people that I'm trying to sell to are either one, not my target audience, or two, not in the financial means to buy my work at the price that I'm trying to sell it at. And then maybe it's just creating postcards and selling them for $5 a piece. I'll tell you, I'd spend maybe 36 cents on each of my 4x6 prints, and I sell them for anywhere from $20 to $35 a piece. That's a huge profit increase. So it's going, I could still, if I was just starting off and I wanted to do 4x6 postcards or 4x6 prints, I could sell them for $5 a piece and still make a great profit. It's still over $4 a profit each and every print. So and that's on nice Hana Mule paper, that's with really nice inks, that's, you know, and then, or you could go into the darkroom and start making a, we need to get away from the idea of trying to put the blame on everything else and just get into the place where we're creatively thinking, okay, if I'm not selling it, what's wrong, and where do I need to make a side shift to be able to sell it? And this is why so many different companies fail, is because they weren't willing to jump outside of what they thought their customers were supposed to be doing and how they thought their customers were supposed to be responding. That's why companies fail. That's why MC Sports here in town went out of business, because they weren't able to side shift over to understanding who their target market was or whatever it might be. So anyways, I do want to be kind of stern with that and going, the more that we say, well, I'm not selling my work because people are just broke or whatever it might be, that it just doesn't fly anymore when we have Instagram, when we have access to world markets, when we can put a Facebook advertisement out and we can target, you know, I could target UK with my work, and knowing that the UK is an audience that continuously purchases my work, and I could probably do a lot better. You know, I don't know. It's just one of these things to where we just need to think in a new way in order to be able to approach and sell our work. And when we do, it'll actually release us into making more money with it and being able to do more with our artwork. And this isn't a selfish thing. This is, again, I love selling stuff to people because I'm offering them an emotional response that they get to rely back on every single time they pull out my zine, every single time they look at my print on their wall. I still have people today that reach out to me and go, look, I bought your print, you know, a year and a half ago, and every time I see it up on my wall, it still brings me joy. This is just cool. So I want to help you guys to get past this. That way you guys could start offering those emotional responses to people, start giving people a cool experience. Spencer says, when I sold my photo book, I too had 60% of sales overseas, mainly to other large format photographers. It's awesome. I love that. And it's understanding that, you know, now you can, moving forward, you know, if you didn't jump into the project with that thought process in the first place, now moving forward, the next time you put out a zine and a photo book, you can understand that maybe a majority of your time needs to be putting it in front of the eyes of other large format photographers, you know, just to use your success as an example, Spencer. So thank you for sharing that. Finzi says, hi, did I miss it? No, we're still very much in the midst of it. Jules, hey, what's up, buddy? John says, Pete Donovan, can you expand on the postcard thing? Are they color, black and white? Are they landscapes, urban exploration, street scenes? Curious minds want to know. Nice. Royal One, Brandon, what's up, buddy? He says, mostly they're nature in general, lots of landscapes and tourist places. They are color. Nice. I've purchased, you know, like in here, this is something that I purchased from French Fred. I bought one of his, you guys kind of see this, but French Fred did a whole postcard series, and this is just on cardstock. It has like the back postcard thing, and got some of his different, oh, I already showed that one, some of his different images on here, but I think I bought this for like, I don't know, $8 to $12. This is one of my favorite ones. And they just came in a little envelope, and I guarantee you these cost him maybe $1 to make, and he sold a bunch of these. I know it. Another one that I have is from Mikhail in the All Format Collective. I bought his. Let me. So this one's fantastic. He took it a little bit further, but at the same time, he still sold this for a fairly decent amount, or a good price rather. In each of the different postcards in here, it actually has 2 different postcard sets. He has his little business card in here, and then 2 sets, one to keep and then one to send out, and it's just fantastic. And then he uses one of the postcards to actually write the letter on in the back, and there's just all sorts of different things that you could do in order to make things very approachable. You know, I think he sells this for like $15 shipped or something like that. And it's very well presented. Whether or not he even makes money on it, I don't even know. But at the same time, it's something that I cherish. It's actually, the print quality on these are beautiful enough to where I could actually frame one of these and be happy with it up on the wall. I've also got a couple of his prints, but it's just these different things of when sometimes we think our artwork is only recognized and only valued when it's a fine art print up on the wall, or when it's a you know, when it's in a gallery space or something like that. But that's not true. Our art is recognized anytime it's in someone's hand and they spend time with it, whether it be in a postcard form, whether it be in an 8x10 form, whether it be in a zine form, or whatever it might be. We just need to understand that getting it in people's hands is the first step, because the more that we get it in people's hands, the more the value actually increases, because now it becomes a conversational point when other people go to their house. I get a lot of customers that come to me. I had somebody over Christmas time come over and purchase a couple prints from me because they had seen a couple of my prints at their brother's house, and they're a photographer as well, and they absolutely love the prints. They reached out to me and got some prints for themselves, and I just think it's so important to understand that we need to, it's okay to have the idea that, okay, I want to show my stuff in a gallery showing and that type of thing, and that's fine as well. I sell large prints at galleries, and I show, and I try and show my work in galleries as often as possible. But then also selling 4x6 prints, I'm not intimidated that it's going to devalue my larger prints or anything like that. Sometimes we just need to get over ourselves as as artists. Joe says, oh, so fine art is mostly the way to go, specifically for black and white. Yeah, I mean, fine art is just a way of, that's a way that I describe my work. again, and that's mostly what I do. I mean, you look at most of my work right now, and it's personal fine art photography, whether it be, you know, compositional based, geometric shape based stuff, or whether it's actual street photography and that kind of thing. But at the same time, like, all of this really translates well over to Emily and my wedding business that we were doing for the last 4 years, and us relating to our clients and selling work to our clients. We still had to build that emotional response. When you take a photo, this is what people used to do this all the time back in the day when they did family portraits. Is you go in for a family portrait session, they'd book a family portrait session, or anytime you see these like Groupon coupons to where it's like, come in and you get a free family portrait session. What they're doing is they're doing the free family portrait session, but then they're going to sell you all the products afterwards. And they go, okay, we want a picture of mom and daughter, and then mom and son, and then dad and daughter, and dad and son, and then the whole family, and then dad and mom, and then the siblings together. And they build all these different products that they can end up presenting at the end of it. And, you know, now it's going, well, we need to have that photo of Johnny and Sally because that's our first photo of the siblings together. And then, oh, well, of course, we haven't had a photo taken of us since our wedding 40 years ago. So we need that picture of the two of us. And it's going, the same thing happens within portraiture and building a emotional response to things that continues to lead to sales. Emily and I had to look at our market and go, okay, who is our market? Luckily, we work with a young adults ministry, and I knew that there was plenty of market in that ministry every year to where couples were getting married over and over and over again, and we had fresh couples coming in and people that would meet at the ministry, and we knew where our market was. So these aren't just for fine art. It's just that's kind of the language that I talk in most of the time. Spencer says, love your insight, man. Great work. Thank you so much. I hope this is helping you guys. So let me know too if this is helping, and let's do our quick little thing of, if this is helping, give me a thumbs up down on the like bar, and show YouTube that you're enjoying this content, so they push it out afterwards. Also, I want to give a huge shout out while we're on here to our Patreon supporters. So we have 12 different people. We have $105 coming in for the channel every single month, and it's just continuing to grow. So I really appreciate everyone who's partnered up over on Patreon. There's tons of perks over there. I have a zine club to where, you know, anytime a zine comes out, you'll be one of the first ones to actually get the zine. I'll probably send it out like a week or 2 weeks ahead of time, so that way you'll have it in your hand. You'll be able to see it before everyone else. We have a producer level to where you get to see behind the scenes stuff. You get to help me kind of come up with some ideas for future episodes. Then we have the executive producer that you get shout outs on the episodes, and you get to step up and help out in other ways. I have one-on-one coaching over there. Everything, you could go to patreon.com/NickExposed and figure out how to support and help the channel along the way. So that's my quick little plug for that. So I appreciate everyone who is jumped in and signed up over on Patreon. It's definitely helping, because yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's helping. The financial support is very much appreciated, so thank you guys. Anna says, sorry to have not been active in the chat. I've been making notes in my head from all the awesome advice and insight, finding this live stream extremely helpful right now. Awesome. I'm very, very glad to hear that. And then Emily actually posted in, Emily's actually, excuse me, where I learned about all these different open call websites originally. So she just posted up a few. So if you're down in the chat, you could scroll up and actually find that. Manifestgallery.org, callforentry.org, collegeart.org, nyfa.org, and then chicagoartresource.org. Those are different places that kind of collectively pool up the different artist call for entries and open calls, whatever you want to call them, to where you could actually enter in and get your work featured. Emily's had work featured in multiple different magazines and books. I've had mine featured in different magazines and stuff like that. So it really works to build up your creative vitae or your creative resume to give you kind of some more street cred, we'll say it that way. Pete Donovan says, I'm afraid to sell my street photography photos. I don't think it's legal to put a price tag on something that you don't have permission to use. Carry a model release if you plan to. So Pete, to kind of talk about that, so you can sell them as a, you could sell them as a book, as a print, as a gallery like print. You could sell them in all those different ways. There's absolutely, at least in the States, there's no law against that. What you cannot do is sell them for commercial use. Private selling is different than commercial selling. So selling from artists to clientele is different than selling it to a large corporation who's going to use it on their billboard or in their advertisements or anything like that. For any of that kind of stuff, you do need a model release. For street photography, you do not. And this is an absolute truth. So, you know, hopefully that'll release you from it. But if you still don't feel comfortable doing it, then, you know, carry your model release and do it that way. But at the same time, you know, it's just like a photojournalist taking a photo and printing it in a newspaper. They don't need model releases for that kind of stuff. If they're going to make a video out of it or anything like that, like sometimes if you're going to use it for a commercial product release or anything like that, then yes, you do. But Joe says, thanks, Emily, for the links. Awesome discussion here. Yes, thank you, baby. That was to Emily, not to you, Joe. Sorry. Hannah O'Brien says, thanks for the links, Emily. Great. Michael says, I see what you're saying. The marketing is very much audience dependent. Great point. I think I need to write some notes regarding this and reflect. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, and you know, honestly, you could get a long ways with just spending an afternoon really kind of digesting who your target audience is, and then just thinking, what places do they hang out? What social media platforms do they hang out on? And then, you know, once you target that down, going, okay, how do they consume content on those social media platforms? You know, how do they consume, you know, not necessarily content at that point, but how do they consume products in the spaces that they experience? Whether it be a gallery space, whether it be a coffee shop, whether it be at their local boutique or anything. When you start working it down, you could really get a long ways in an afternoon and be much further along than where you were and not spending that time going towards it. So Spencer Reed says, is it just me, or is the film photography community more helpful and supportive of each other than the digital shooters? Yes, I find it to be. So it's not just you. Robert Val says, you only need a model release if you're planning to sell the image for personal of a person commercially. Awesome. So you covered it before I even got a chance to. So thank you, Robert. Emily Mayo, my wife, my beautiful bride, says Manifest Gallery is a gallery in Cincinnati, Ohio that often calls specifically for lens-based works. The other links are more international, and you would need to keyword search. John says, gotta run. The wife just showed up. I'm at work for lunch. See you, buddy. Chris Geelan, the funny thing is, old over-the-top edited pictures I made sold much quicker than work I'm really proud of. You know, this is the thing, is if you want to, unfortunately, I'll say it this way, because I do think it's kind of unfortunate. Unfortunately, HDR work and, you know, heavy-fisted, heavy-handed, edited images still tend to sell to the general population much better than fine art photography with, you know, street photography or black and white abstraction or anything like that. So there's a bit of a truth there, but at the same time, I'm not going to sell my soul off by shooting HDR just to be able to get a paycheck, you know. Once again, I can find an audience that will purchase, and you can make a decent amount of side income by, you know, creating zines and selling zines or selling fine art prints to even the local community of fine art artists, or even the online community of fine art artists, or whatever it might look like. So don't be discouraged by that. Let the HDR photographers hit that market, and then you find your market and you hit it as hard as you can. So Pete Donovan says, my friend photos abandoned places. My friend's photos of abandoned places. My friend, sorry, Pete, I'm butchering your comment. My friend photos abandoned places, and he has hung them at his local Starbucks. Nice. Coffee shops are a great place because they tend to have a very specific vibe to them. In a lot of cases, street photography or different things like that will work well in some of them with the exposed brick and you know, landscape photography might work at a bright and airy coffee shop. But I do enjoy, like, some people look down on coffee shops. I don't know why. You get a large set of eyes on them, and typically people gravitate towards a certain coffee shop because of the feel of that coffee shop. And chances are, if you go home and look at their, or if you go with them home, that sounds creepy, but if you go and look at their own home space, it will sometimes be kind of built around the concepts that they see in the different spaces that they enjoy to hang out in, because they enjoy those spaces. So they start to kind of put their space at home in that same type of way. I'm completely butchering that. My brain just stopped working. But they start to decorate and build their space around the things that they're comfortable with, whether it be their workspace, whether it be their local coffee shop that they hang out at, different spaces that they feel comforted in and feel community in. Their home space tends to take on those characteristics as well. So in saying that, when you have these regulars that come to coffee shops, they start to value the artwork that's up on the wall, even if they don't understand it, just because it's placed in a space that they're already comfortable in, and it, if you do it right, feeds off of the feeling of that space, and they may even be emotionally responsive to want to take that home and put it in their own home space, that they can have a bit of that at home. So hopefully that made sense. I know I completely butchered all of those words, but hopefully it made sense. Jacob Murphy, what's up, buddy? Good seeing you out there. Hey, if you guys didn't know, this weekend in New York City, Jacob and I are going to be hosting a photo meetup out there on Saturday. So that's this weekend, May 12th, down in Soho. We'll be meeting, and then we'll probably kind of hit up all of Manhattan, kind of go all over the place. So check out this morning's video, or if you just look on the page, there's a meetup video that I just posted up 2 weeks ago that you can find all the details on if you aren't aware of all that. Thanks for the tips, Nick. You're welcome. Let's see here. Wow, so many great tips here. Thanks, Nick, and everyone, for the awesome advice. You're welcome. I really, honestly, like, this is the thing. I don't know how many people we have in here. Let me see. We have 32 people in here right now. This is the thing. I hope, and I want to give you guys the assignment of going up and this week posting something up on your Instagram story and selling something. Put a 4x6 print out there and just gauge the audience. Maybe put 3 of them out there. One of the things that I will say is you don't want to post up like 15 of them. I make that choice sometimes, and I always regret it afterwards, because you end up putting people in more paralysis than actually giving them a healthy decision on making a purchasing decision. So just give them 2 or 3 different responses and just go, hey, I'm going to be printing a few of these. Here's 3 different choices. Let me know which one you want. They're going to be $15 a piece or $30 a piece, whatever you want to link or price them at, and then see which ones sell, and then watch who it is that purchases those types of pieces. You know, if you're one of those guys that we were talking about earlier, to where you photograph anything and everything, maybe take 3 drastically different types of images, make the prints, do a 4x6 sale, and just see which of the 3 actually resonates with that community. And I think that would be a great thing for, 1, just making money right off the get-go this week, but then 2 is really starting to gauge your audience and see what it is that they actually gravitate towards and pull the trigger on. So if I can give you guys another assignment, I know I gave you one in the video this morning, but another assignment is to just pull the trigger and start selling work this week. If you have a zine that you've been sitting on, pull the trigger, put it out there, and ask for the sale. If you just want to make a 4x6 print or 3 different 4x6 prints, do it. Do it tonight, do it tomorrow. Go to your local print shop, go to Costco. Actually, surprisingly, if you're in the States, Costco actually has really, really amazing machines for printing. They do it on like Fuji Crystal Archive paper. So go over to Costco, spend the 32 cents it is to get like a 4x6 print, and then sell it for $25, and give yourself that extra boost of confidence. Or if it doesn't sell, then you understand that maybe you're trying to target the wrong audience and start honing in on where your audience actually is. So I want to give all of you guys, there's however many 32 people on the stream, I want to give you guys that call to action and just get out there and put something up to sell. Oh, it's going to be amazing. This is one of the things I laugh about. So I was photographing out in Chicago. I was photographing out in Chicago, and you could ask Jacob. Actually, he flew out to hang out with us in the Chicago meetup, and people kind of laugh at the way that I go around Chicago and shoot, and I don't know, I kind of laugh at it too. But I had a couple people come up to me and ask me, like, how do you not feel weird about kind of looking like a fool when you're out there shooting? And the thing is, like, when you start selling your work, when you start making, the birds in flight photo. So I talk about it quite a bit. Here's if you're new to the channel, you've probably seen this, but this is a print of the photo. This photo, I'd seen the birds flying around, and I've told the story before, but I'll tell it right now because I think it just kind of illustrates a point of what happens when you start selling artwork. Like, I seen these birds flying around, so I went up to the top of this parking garage, and they were just sitting on top of the ledge. So I started I was trying to scare them, and I was yelling at them, so I had to start jumping up and down and like waving my camera and like screaming at them to get them to fly off. So once they flew off, I got the shot, and then I'm chasing them from side to side. I'm running across the parking garage from roof side to roof side, just scaring these birds back and forth and trying to get all these different shots. And I get done, I run through the roll, and I'm going down, my cameras are winding, I'm on the elevator, I get to the main floor, and the elevator doors open up, and across the way is the security guard office. And the first thing that I seen was the security guard's like monitor, and it has all the different cameras, right? And all of the cameras were the different camera angles from the roof. And I realized as these two security guards were just staring at me, looking at me like, what is wrong with you? That they were watching me run back and forth, chasing these birds all over the place and just waving my arms in the air. I don't know if they knew I was taking a photo or not. And it's just funny because I looked like a complete fool. But at the same time, that one photo has made me well over like $6,000 in just selling stuff. It got me my Pack-On scanner. It's all these different things that just showed up because of this image. That if I could either feel weird because I look like a fool, or I could just go and make money with my artwork and go, I don't care if I look like a fool for a minute. This photo in itself has funded my photography for the last 2 years, and it's just, I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't come off as prideful and cocky and arrogant. It just says the beautiful thing that happens when we start selling our work is it gives us more boldness. It gives us more confidence. It releases us from the idea of looking like a complete fool, because we're going, hey, look, this is a business for me now. It's not just something that I do on the side and I'm terrified to look like a fool on. Hopefully that translated well. I'm realizing as I'm thinking back on that story, I'm not trying to sound arrogant or cocky or anything. Anyway, I'm sure so many of you guys are sick and tired of seeing that photo, but it works as a good talking point because I have so many stories from it. But let's see here. Hannah was saying to Jacob, I'm okay, thank you, although going to the hospital and procedure tomorrow, fingers crossed, all will be okay. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Hannah, I'll be praying over you. Emily and I will both be praying over you. Let's see here. Oh, I'm on. My chat thing is just freaking out right now. Jan Smith says, how do you choose from all your photos to sell to the world? Honestly, I just choose whatever ones I'm really kind of having a conversation with at the moment. I'm constantly going back through my work and constantly sitting and spending time with my photos. And there's some that continue to speak to me. And if they continue to speak to me over and over and over again, I get excited about trying to sell those with people. I get excited about putting those in people's hands. And sometimes the images that, excuse me, speak really well to me don't speak well to other people at all, which is fine. And you know, sometimes I just put those in with a giveaway and I still give them out to people. But you know, we get humbled quite a bit with our photography to where we realize that not everything is going to sell. That's okay. Ralph Gibson and you know, Elliot Irwitt and Jay Maisel are sitting on stacks and stacks and stacks of prints that haven't sold yet. It doesn't mean that they won't eventually sell. It just means that they haven't put them in front of the right eyes yet, you know? Understanding that is a very humbling thing. Jacob says, it is frustrating when people don't buy your work, but I say be patient. Someday your fans will say, instead of buying necessity A, I will buy this work instead. Yeah, you know, it's just, it is a waiting game sometimes. It's a patience game. I'll say it this way, you know, I talked about the coming from a background in sales and marketing, and one of the biggest things that we said in the sales world all the time is it's a numbers game. If you want to sell more work, you put it out in front of more eyes. That's it. You're going to get, the more no's you get, the more yeses you'll get. If you put it out there and people go, no, I don't want to buy that, you continue putting it out there in front of different eyes or in different ways or whatever it might look like, and eventually you find the people that say, yes, I do. Like Jacob was saying, they'll say, you know, I'm going to put off my daily coffee, then I could purchase this image. And sometimes I'll even put it in that way. Hey, if you want to give up, you know, this week's coffee adventure to have this fine art print in your home, you could do that, you know. And then when you start putting it in language like that, sometimes people see it in a different way. But one thing that I was going to put in the video this morning that I didn't, but I'll throw on here for anybody that's still sticking around in this chat or watching back through the playthrough, is once you understand your target market, this is a very crafty way of selling to people, but it's also a very important thing to understand is once you understand your target market, start looking at when they get their paychecks. Start looking at their paydays, and you know, when you're about to drop a zine or when you're about to drop a print sale, drop it on the day that they get their paycheck or the day after they get their paycheck, because you know, the thing is we're constantly vying for the attention or for the value and affirmation of other products, you know, especially if you're selling to other photographers. There's those lenses that they have marked as a watch item on eBay that they're kind of enticed by. So Emily says, I'll be home soon to cook the most fantastic dinner of all dinners. Funny. But anyways, understanding when their payday is, you could put it out in front of them when they have that extra cash. And trust me, they'll push the lens back a week, you know? It's still going to be on eBay, or they'll find another one on eBay. But it's understanding the pay schedule of people. And that could sound a little manipulative. And again, this is where a lot of artists kind of shoot themselves in the foot, because we start to think of these things and we start to go, oh, this sounds manipulative. I don't want to be sleazy. I don't want to be doing any of this. But it's going, no, I when I think about my artwork, I'm excited to put my artwork in people's hands because I'm proud of the thing that I made. I'm proud of the time that I put in, not only to making that piece, but the endless, countless hours that I put in prior to making that piece, to where, you know, it gave me the creative vision, or it gave me the creative thought process, whether it was clicking the shutter, you know, 50,000 times before that, or reading the book that I read years ago that gave me that little spark of inspiration when I seen that image. You know, you can't put a price tag on the history that comes into making a specific image, you know, whatever it might be. Let's I'll just pull out another, I don't know, these are all images that I was just printing out and spending some time with. But anyways, whatever, you just think of your favorite image. It took a lifetime of experiences to get to the place where you even thought about pressing the shutter on that image. And that's what people are paying for. That's what you're offering to people. Anyways. Oh, that was a big tangent. Hopefully you guys followed along with me. John Kramer says, I recently opened up several new doors for my photography that paid off tenfold within weeks. I donated 2 large photographs, 20 by 30 landscape, framed black and white in 3-inch matte, to a golf and tennis charity event to support a homeless shelter. The photographs sold at this event, silent auction, for a lot of money, and I was very happy to help the charity raise some money. During and shortly after the event, I received requests for small versions of the photographs in other photographs. That's fantastic. That's amazing. And I will tell everyone out there, those are easy events to get into. Those silent auctions, I've been to multiple. I used to put a voucher in, and I have a very, very similar experience, John, as what you're talking about. I used to put a voucher in for my graphic design work back in the day, because I worked as the lead graphic designer for the charity, but then at our gala events, we had those silent auctions, and I would put in a $500, $700, $800 voucher, you know, in the silent auction that they could bid, and people would win it for $300-$400, and I would do $700 or $800 worth of graphic design work for them afterwards. But at the same time, I also had my business card out there, and it was a little plaque next to it saying that I was the house graphic designer for the charity. So I was getting other business on top of that. I got a gig for a real estate agent that was out there, and then a musician did some work for them as well, and just these different things that started to sprout up because of that. I haven't done it with my photography, I don't think. No, I'm sorry, I put one image in on a gala. It was after I stopped doing the graphic design for the charity. I did send out one image that they put in there. Nothing came of that, but I wasn't really expecting anything with that. I didn't put any business cards out or anything. I don't even know if I even like labeled my name on it. It was just a piece that I figured people would want. Anyways, if you just look up silent auctions, or reach out to your local charities, ministries, different things like that, there's all sorts of silent auctions that you can partner with that will also put you in a good position, like John was saying. Alan says, this is a particularly interesting one, guys. Thanks for the insight. You're welcome. And then I'm gonna wrap up here in the next 8 to 10 minutes, but I want to kind of try and catch up on all of these posts here. So Mick B says, I sell a photo book locally with photos taken locally. What is the best tip for people to get their interest in the book? You know, if you're selling it locally, so I'm assuming that the work is of local areas as well. So let's say you're in a small town, and I'm assuming that the work's probably from that small town as well. I think sharing as many stories as possible about it, whether through written or whether it's at a opening, like let's say if you did a show at a coffee shop and you did an opening session, and you had for the month beforehand, you know, an advertisement at the coffee shop that you were going to be there to do the opening reception, and then during that time you kind of share the stories about some of the images, and then let people know that prints are for sale afterwards. I think that would be a great way of going about it as well. Jacob says the duplicate postcard idea is genius. Yes, it is. I really like that Mikhail did that. I think the pitch is everything when speaking to a gallery or even selling work. Have confidence and believe in yourself. 100%. Yeah, you're not gonna get into a space like that by not having confidence in really just diving in that way. So, Luke says, well, hello Nick, Nick's chat and OFC Nick. Sorry that I'm coming here so late. Need to look at the whole stream the next day. Yes, it's amazing. This has been a really good one, so I do think it's well worth going back and checking out. Nick Fisher says, hey, finally managed to catch one of my first TMT lives. Fantastic. Good seeing you here. Joe Lopez says, do you print and ship yourself, or do you have it done by a third party? For our wedding photography print stuff that we did through a third party. For my personal prints and stuff, I print it myself and ship it out myself. That way I could kind of craft the experience a little bit more. I like having good, solid presentation. I have this, I print off my own labels. It has my branding on it. It has my return address on it. And then I can just print the address right on there, and just kind of takes it up a notch and different things like that. So that's how I go about it. Alan says, Nick's Patreon is awesome. Get on it, boys and girls. He's super interactive on that platform. Great perks. was like, super inactive. That's not a good selling point, buddy. But no, I try to be. This last week, I kind of had to be a little silent because I had so much going on. But moving forward, I've been using it. So if you guys haven't checked out the Patreon yet, I know that I gave a little plug for it earlier, but patreon.com/NickExposed. One of the big perks that is for everyone that is at the $5 level or more, or actually the $3 level or more, is I've been using it as kind of a blog. So in the evening when I have these crazy thoughts going through my head, I kind of blog them out on this thing. And because my website is broken, I've been using this as a blogging platform and kind of sharing my inner thoughts on, you know, creativity and fine art and what to do with inspiration and all these different things. I've been blogging those out there. So for everyone who's been supporting on Patreon, they've been getting kind of an inside look at the thought process behind the videos, the thought process behind some of my projects, and it's only going to continue to grow as we go forward. So, and also this last week, or just this morning, was it? I think it was this morning, I put out, I'm going to be doing a monthly feature showcase on my Instagram stories of different Patreon supporters. So I'm going to choose one patron a month, and it might grow more than that once we start to get a good slew of patrons, but it's going to start off with one patron a month, and throughout that month I'm just going to find different opportunities to showcase them and to show their work, and it's going to be really randomly chosen. So it could be anybody at the $3 level all the way up to the $50 level, whatever it might be. I just want to be able to give back to that community in a creative way, and I don't want to have it be, oh, you have to pay me this amount of money to get featured. I want to have this kind of sporadic, spontaneous thing to where you might be chosen no matter what level you're at. And I'd love to just kind of encourage you guys and be able to partner with you guys in that way. So once again, if you want to check any of that out, it's over at patreon.com/NickExposed. Let's see here. Spencer Reed says, all right, gotta go do photo shoot for a senior. Thanks for the advice, Nick. Keep being a baller. Thanks, buddy. I love the film community. Yes, it's amazing. Oh, am I caught up on? Hey, that's awesome. I'm caught up on comments. So let me get to the end of these, and then we'll probably sign off here in a few. But P. Donovan says, I love the film community. They're so awesome to talk with. I talk with others that shoot digital, and it's like talking to a wall at times. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know, and I don't like getting into this whole debate about film versus digital, but I will say that the communities are two different ball games. Joe says, amen to that, Pete. I feel a lot more friendly and supportive of each other. Andrew Gomez says, yes, very helpful. I'm very shy when it comes down to showing my work, and this week's TMT has been very encouraging, so thank you. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Like, if there's one thing that I hope that this series does, is it's make you guys more money and give you guys the confidence of being able to go out there and show your work. So I'm very excited to continue going through more about selling work and different things like that, but I really want to help you guys to be able to start funding some of your personal projects by selling other personal projects that you've done in the past. Luke says, Andrew Gomez, what's your Instagram? Show us your work. Yes, go ahead and share you guys' Instagram handles here in the chat. I'm completely open to that. You guys can pump out your websites or anything like that, just so then you guys can connect with each other as well. Jules says, how not to feel a bit out of ourselves when reaching out or reaching for other people's attention. I'm really struggling with that. Yeah, you know, it's one of these things of understanding what it is, Jules, that your work's going to go on and do for someone is going, if all you're, you know, I'll say it this way, if all we're in it for is to try and get money from people, then yes, that's sleazy, that's self-centered, that's you know, I don't know, that ends up getting to the point to where, yeah, we would be very uncomfortable with that. But if what it is you're trying to present people with something that should give them a good emotional response, or that they can have a solid conversation with, or that will enrich their life or enrich their space, or give some sort of creative decor or, you know, feeling to a space that they're living in or that they're working in or whatever it might be, when you understand the actual thing that's happening when somebody's purchasing your artwork, you'll start to release yourself from the idea of, oh, this is sleazy, or oh, this feels weird and manipulative, or anything like that. If it's for self-gain, then yeah, it's going to feel manipulative, but it shouldn't be that way. You know, I fully expect that anybody that approaches the Sketches of Light zine, you know, either one finds inspiration in the fact that, you know, I just used my iPhone to capture everyday light and just kind of ran forward at that, and hopefully it inspires people, and hopefully it equips people, and hopefully it does all these different things. But if all they get from it is a great experience going through it, that's worth $15. You know, the experience alone is what I'm trying to offer to people, not necessarily the you know, the context of the image. And that's not true all the way across the board. You know, photojournalism is very much offering the context that brings people to think in a different way. But if you're allowing somebody, or if you're bringing somebody to a different place to where they could think in a different way, to where they can experience something, to where they could find joy, to where they could find peace or happiness or whatever it might be, you're just offering them little slivers of whatever it might be. It releases you from the tension of going, ooh, this feels weird, and it goes, ooh, I really want to get this in as many people's hands as possible if it's going to do that for them. So that's part of the reason why I try and challenge us so much to think about what it is that we're trying to say with our artwork. Because once we understand what it is that we're trying to say with our artwork, we could start understanding who it is that wants to join in on that conversation. And once we have that element, then sales just becomes a second nature thing, and we don't have to feel like it's a 4-letter word. SALES, 5-letter word. You guys understand what I'm saying. But Jules says, could the fear of ego lead to lack of self-confidence? Yes, completely. And honestly, this is one of the places that I do struggle in. Is I don't necessarily like self-promotion. Even sometimes when I'm throwing out the idea about, if it wasn't for all the value that I've packed into Patreon, I would feel completely weird about that, because I don't like promoting myself. But knowing the value that I have, that I'm giving to someone, the value that people will find when they subscribe to Patreon, or at least if they do find the things that I'm offering valuable, then, you know, I don't know, it makes me excited to talk about Patreon. It makes me excited to talk about my prints. So yeah, Jules, I would just challenge you to say, or to really kind of dive in and go, what is it that I'm actually trying to offer with my artwork? Because once you have that locked in and you have that figured out, I think it's going to change everything for you. I think that you're going to find it's much more humbling when people purchase than it is having this giant ego trip. Not saying that that's what you're having. I'm just saying that's kind of what our fear is we don't want to have this giant ego trip. I don't want to lose myself in trying to sell my artwork. So yeah, anyways, hopefully that answers that question. Ellen says, I'm off night. I'll see you, buddy. All right. What is the shipping process? So Michelle, real quick, my shipping process depends on the different zines or whatever it might be. So so my first zine, I shipped it out in these cardboard mailers. This is one that got returned back to me, but these cardboard mailers, and inside of it has the zine. Flip it upside down. And I every single time I'll find these cellophane sleeves. I put a cardboard backing, or it's just a poster board backing, and it has it protected in there. So if I use a cardboard mailer, it'll be in that. With the recent zines, I've been using like 6x9 envelope mailers, but then I put multiple pieces of hard cardstock within there, and then have the smaller zine. I don't think I have any of them packaged up here, but I put the smaller zine in like a 4x6 cellophane sleeve with the paper backing. And then I have all that. Like I said, I print out on my own labels. It has all my branding on it. Oftentimes I'll write like a handwritten letter, or I'll at least sign them. I don't know if this one's probably signed on the inside. No, it's not. This is just one of my sample ones, but I'll write on the back, thank you. Sometimes I'll write a personal note, whatever it might be. But that's kind of the thing. same thing goes with my my photos. Oftentimes I'll get the heavy duty photo mailers for like 8x10 or above, to where it has the 2 cardboard sleeves, and then it has the mailer that goes on the outside. You can buy that at the post office, you can get it on Amazon, but that's a big part of what I do. I will say, try and avoid cardboard mailers when shipping overseas, because that really jacks the price up. The difference is when I'm doing these 6x9 mailers and I'm doing the cardboard on the heavy card stock on the inside, it allows me to ship them for like $3 a piece, versus when I was doing that cardboard mailer that I was showing you was $13 a piece, which is a difficult thing when you're only charging so much for shipping. And I don't feel, I didn't necessarily, this is one of the big things that I took a big hit on when I did the first zine. That's why I kind of made the side shift for the second one. Was the first zine for my international orders, I was only charging about $6 a shipping, but I was paying $13, so I was taking a large hit on my profits from the zine for international orders. So moving forward, I had to make that difference and that change in order to lower the cost. So the closer you can get it to like an actual mailing envelope, but make sure that you put the integral, you know, pieces on the inside. Excuse me, I don't know why I get so burpy when I'm doing these live streams. I'm drinking water. I switched from drinking like soda water to just straight water, but it still hits me. Sorry for not commenting a lot. I enjoy listening to the conversation. No worries. Oh, and I just realized this is Michelle from the Chicago meetup. Hey, good seeing you in here. No worries at all. Thank you for making it out to the Chicago meetup, and thanks for asking the question. And if anybody wants to see my shipping process in general, in person, you can go over to twostopsapparel.com and buy one of my zines, and you'll see how it comes in the mail and how I ship it out to you. So if you want to see it in person. Michael said, I feel like I can't do a good sales, you know, live stream interview if I don't actually try and sell some of my work in general. So that's my sales pitch. That way I can justify having the knowledge to be able to share these things with you. Michael says, thank you so much, Nick. Great insight that needs further unpacking, for sure. Awesome. And I encourage you guys to go back and that's the beautiful thing about these live streams on YouTube, is you could find any parts to where you kind of were wrestling with something that we threw out there or wanted to kind of hear it again. You could go back and spend some time with it again. Jules says, I'm not looking to try hard for the money, but I am not yet to the point in my art where I know what the message is I want to deliver apart from my vision. Yeah, and you know, Jules, I didn't mean to only talk about selling. That is kind of the topic of this discussion, but even promoting your artwork and putting it out there and putting it towards gallery showings or you know, magazine open calls, it takes the same type of confidence, and it takes the same type of understanding what it is that you're trying to say with your artwork. So once again, like I said, I think I've said it a couple times in the other videos or the videos in this series now, is these kind of apply across the board. All these different ideas really kind of work towards just promoting your artwork, or trying to sell your artwork, or trying to promote and sell your photography services, or whatever it might look like. So I'm going to take just a couple more. We're almost caught up, so I'm going to jump off here in like 2 minutes. Great information, Nick, here. I will have to check out the first part that I missed. I'm finally at a point that I want to put some of my work out there and see what types of prints I can sell. And please do, like, when you guys do this. So Joe, thank you for sharing that. And when you guys do this, let me know. I want to celebrate with you guys when you sell your first print ever, or when you sell the next print or anything like that. So shoot me a message and let me know over on Instagram, like, hey Nick, I just sold a print and I'm like super jacked about it and I want to celebrate with you on that. And maybe even like, I'd love to even just showcase you guys on the Instagram story of, you know, I don't know, success stories. That's a weird thing of saying, but just kind of showcase and celebrate with you guys. So definitely let me know when you make that first sale, or when you make that next sale. So I'm confident in my, Jules says, I'm confident in my eye, but I wish I had a clear message with my productions, but yet I can't find it. Jules, if you go back, I know that you've been in on these conversations for a while now, but if you go back to especially the first season of the 2 Minute Tuesdays. There's a lot of 2 Minute Tuesday episodes in there really geared in towards thinking about our artwork and thinking about what it is that we're trying to say with our artwork. Even the ones, you know, there's one talking about what does your photo taste like or something. I think it was something like that. Some sort of ridiculous one, but even that kind of gets our thought process moving in a different way to where you could start kind of coming at it from a different angle and hopefully find that message that you're trying to say with everything. Thank you so much for quieting my fears and answering the questions. Yes, you are so welcome. This is fun for me. Pete says, I'm mad that I can't make it out to the New York City event on Saturday. I got stuck working. Oh man, that's a bummer. Pete, are you in New York? Hit me up. I'm in town for more than just Saturday, so maybe we could figure something else out to where you could grab a coffee with Jacob and I. Last comment that I'll read, Michael Borman says, I'm going off to shoot. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for contributing to the conversation. Catch you all next week. Hit me up on Instagram if you want to see any of my work. Awesome. Well, guys, this is where we're going to cut it off, and I appreciate you guys jumping on here. How many people do we still? We have 18 people now. I know that this one went a little bit longer than I even anticipated. I wasn't planning on going for an hour and 40, but we got rolling with oh, you're in New Hampshire. Okay. Yeah, we got rolling with some good conversation, and I didn't want to cut it off. So anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys on future live streams on the next episode. And then also in the meantime, go and if you haven't left a thumbs up on the video down below, where does it show me? It used to show me where my thumbs up were, but I'm not seeing it now. Anyways, leave a thumbs up on this video. Go and check out it. You know, I would really appreciate if you guys went and shared some of the other, either the last one about the emotional response or this morning's video about finding our target audience. Go and if you feel like this has been helpful for you, go and share that video or even this live stream out into your streams and help me spread the word and help other people in making either more confident steps within their photography or making an actual side income with their photography or even a full-time income. So I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you guys' support. Thank you again to our Patreon supporters, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Until then, go and push yourselves. 2 stops. Peace.